Hi guys, my name is Brian, and this is what I want to tell my younger self. Hi, I hope you're okay. I hope whatever you're doing is good. Now I want to tell you to keep strong. I am here, I am older, and the thing I want to impart to you is remember this throughout your life, through everything you're going through. See must. Nothing really matters, nothing in the world matters. When you have that, everything, the burden of the world becomes lighter. So whatever your relatives are telling you, see must. Whatever you feel you have to do, see must to find. See must to pass, see must to fail. So do it for the memories, because in the end, those are the things that you will have. So try your best. We make it. We get out of there. We forget about that place. Yeah, we are better. We are killing it. We are here. I am here for you. I will write the things that I think are important to you. I will grow with you. I will impart knowledge. I will get friends for you. And when you reach where I am right now, you'll be very proud of who you are.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of A Letter to My Younger Self. I don't think today's guest needs any introduction. You guys at home know him as Mama Michael, but to us, he is Mike Muchiri. Karibu to the show, Mike.
Thank you, Sana Wabosha, for having me.
Yeah, how does it feel like to be back?
To be back. Last time I should tell guys I was seriously
under
the weather. Yeah.
He was actually here. He was supposed to be on season 3. It was supposed to be our last episode of season 3. Mm-hmm. But then Mike came in and he was very unwell. So we were like, hii coronavirus unatuletea, enda tu home kwanza upone, and then you can come back.
I drove all the way to the shooting place.
We appreciate it. Actually, after you left, is it Wambario and someone got sick? Or is it me? Haikuwa wewe. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure.
So before we get into it, I think you can first start by reading your letter to us.
Okay. I'll just read the letter.
Yes.
I wrote this letter, I don't want to say so many months ago. And I was telling Wabosha, even in a span of months, people do grow. Because,
Unangalia kwa kuni nani?
We're still gonna read it, bro. So this is a letter to my younger self. Us is meant to depict this as a conversation between my old self and current self. To my 15 and 19-year-old self, these were both moments of major transitions in our life. At 15, we transitioned into adulthood, and at 19, we became a freshman in uni. At both ages, we felt like we had been thrown in the middle of the ocean and we hadn't learned how to swim. Confidently, we can say that it was at these ages that we learned how to handle change, new relationships, and new environments. 15, most especially, is the age that's very significant to us. It was at this age that we started to discover ourselves in view of what was in and around us. It was at this stage that people's opinions and perspectives of us started to matter. It was at this age that we started to develop physically, emotionally, and mentally. And we definitely began being aware of our insecurities at this age. At 19, we had already grown a thick skin, or so we thought. In some weird way, external opinions became louder, insecurities became more conspicuous, and the labels began. Where do we begin? The identity crisis, imposter syndrome, always feeling like we don't fit in, the confusion in view of our career. To my 15-year-old self, I wish you'd give yourself time to understand you better, time to grow and time to learn. Also, eventually things do work out and fall into place. Accept that there's really nothing you can do when it comes to some issues. You can't always solve a problem, and that's okay. To my 19-year-old self, I would hug you and tell you there's nothing wrong with you. Comparing yourself with other people really does steal your joy. They never lied. Don't be afraid to show emotions. Don't be afraid of being emotional. Cry if you will. Feel every emotion and journal. Because you're hard-headed and won't talk to anyone. To both of you, I'm proud of us. We're doing better.
Oh, I feel like weird enough, men are the ones who end their letters in like the sweetest ways. Babes, tunakuanga tu like bye. Okay, bye.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, guys are normally like, I'm proud of you, I love you, and I find it like really, really nice and sweet and heartfelt.
Now that I'm reading my letter, it's really something that I wrote. I actually put my feelings and emotions into it. Yeah. Na inani trigger. You better have a therapist.
It's around the corner, yeah. That you talk. Yeah. So you start the letter writing to your 15-year-old younger self, and I'm thinking back to Wabosha at 15. I think at that point nilikuwa form 2 boarding school. It was my first ever time in boarding school. No mom, no dad. I feel kidogo independent, and I can see how, at that point you feel like you're now a grown up. But realistically speaking, and thinking about it right now, 15, I was really a baby. I mean, even right now I feel like I'm still just a baby.
We're still children.
What happened at 15 that made you feel like you're now a grown up?
Okay, at 15 well, I wrote this letter kitambo. At 15, let me read my letter again, Akipole.
It's okay.
15 most especially is the age that's significant. We started to discover ourselves. I think 15 was the point when I was transitioning from high school to uni.
From primary to high school.
From primary to high school.
Yeah,
from primary to high school. Yeah, it's definitely from primary to high school. Because that was a very major, and it's a transition. My primary school to high school transition was a transition that will forever be ingrained in my mind. I will never forget it. Because as my letter says, I feel like I now nimerushwa into real life. And now it's like I became an adult as a kid. And now I had to start being responsible for myself, and I started seeing things differently. And I would say that's basically how my 15 that's how my 15 was significant to me.
And like you mentioned, you say that it was like being thrown, in the ocean, and you've not been taught how to swim yet. So at that time, who was responsible for giving you guidance, and how better do you feel like they could have maybe guided you so that you don't feel like, this feeling of impending doom?
So at 15, I was definitely living with my mom. For the most part of my life, I've lived with my mom. My dad is also present. I was just not living with my dad then. So my transition to high school, I feel like I could have used the presence of my parents more, my dad especially. And now that I became an adult, these are things that I realize. The more you realize, the more I become adult, the more I became an adult, it's the more I became self-aware. And it's the more I started to digest how the little things that happened back then really majorly impacted my life and majorly impacted how I perceive things, whether it's love, relationships, friendships, wealth, money, and all that kind of stuff. So at 15, I really felt, the more I transitioned into high school, I really felt I could have used the presence of both of my parents.
And as a 15-year-old, and even just a teenager in general, I feel that's the period where we're really vulnerable to like other people's thoughts and opinions, and they really affect us.
It does.
So at 15, whose opinion mattered most to you, and what did you think they thought about you?
At 15, transitioning into high school, primary school is different from high school. Because primary school is, you're a kid, you're a kid around kids. You're a child around children. And I'm Saidiani. And at that point, you really don't care what other people think. But now when you transition into high school, you have all sorts of people. And people from different and diverse backgrounds. And now adults who have probably experienced life more than you. So you're being exposed to new opinions, new experiences, new interactions, new relationships, new friendships. And when you start interacting with people, and then they start talking to you, and then they start having opinions about you and about, like how you do your own things, it really starts getting to you.
So what sort of insecurities would you say 15-year-old Muchiri had?
So 15-year-old, it was a time of self-discovery, basically. It's that time when you start realizing that you're fresh in high school. You see bigger guys than you. There's so many things. There's so many. I can't really point it out directly. Like this was my exact insecurity, but I would just say it was my point of self-discovery. Yeah, physically, emotionally, and everything. Yeah.
I think for us, maybe it happened a bit more opposite. I think when I was around, let's say, class 6, 7, 8, that's when other babes even started developing like way faster than I was developing. That's the time I was like, ay, na uku nini na happened, by the way. And then I went to high school, and for some reason, I don't know if it's because now I was in an all girls, school, so it's like now you meet other people who are now like you. So I feel like when I got to high school is when now I started becoming a lot more secure in like who I was and how I was. So it's interesting to see, a different perspective.
Yeah. And I think from a guy's perspective it is different, because I can tell you for sure, when I was in Form 1, puberty hadn't even hit. My voice, oh my god, wow. I could hit those high notes even in speech.
Yeah.
And then I was so tiny. And then my voice hadn't broken. And then you start becoming aware, especially when people are listening to you and then they point it out.
Yeah.
You start being self-aware. By the way, you even start training yourself how to now this is my case, how to deepen your voice. How to how to basically be masculine to fit in that environment.
And you also mentioned that you wish you could have allowed yourself, the grace to grow and learn. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're still a baby. You're 15 years old.
I am,
So where would you say a 15-year-old could get such tools to be able to grow and learn and understand themselves?
And understand. Okay, my take would be very religious. So I'm talking about, I've mentioned that I started to become self-aware. But then the paradox of it is, the more I became self-aware, the more I realized I don't have an identity. The more I became self-aware, the more I realized I had no identity whatsoever. And my mind was just clouded with people's opinions. It was clouded with a lot of confusion with the labels and everything. And I used to be such a loner. As hard as it is to believe, I used to be such a loner. Even when I transitioned into uni, I used to be such a loner. My big brother can tell you that. My big brother was actually the one who was like constantly kept asking me, "Where unanga mabeshte? Who are your friends?" He kept like telling me, "Get out of the house and go just hang out with your friends." I used to be such a loner. It's even crazy. So my place of solace was really God. And that's why I will never buy the idea of non-existence of God, because my own personal experiences have led me to believe that God really is with me and God does exist. Because I am evidence. I'm evidence that God really exists. And the more I started, I come from a very strong Christian background, and I do not claim to be born again. I do not associate myself with God just because I came from such a background. My own personal experiences have fueled my desire to actually seek after God at an individual level. And the more I started developing the interest to actually know about God, to actually study the Word and to pray, the more I started being aware of who I really was, because God really gave me my identity. And the more I started, when I was in high school, transitioning now into adulthood and handling all those transitions, I had no confidence whatsoever. I had no identity, no confidence. Mimi nilikuwa tu naishi. I was just living life as it is. But God really gave me confidence. And the more I started knowing God, the more I started knowing myself. God really gave me identity. And the more I started loving God, the more I started loving myself. Yeah. So that was really my place of solace. Yeah.
So you'd say, number one, your tool was, religion.
Yeah.
And simply because, right now you can say that he's proof.
Yeah,
your life is proof that there's a God and he exists. That's it's really
true.
powerful. Now fast forward, now you're 19 years old. So I'm guessing 19 is when now you got into university, yeah? And you're saying you thought you had grown thicker skin. Yeah, this means that you were better than how you were at 15, but people's thoughts and opinions still affected you.
Still affected me.
In what ways would you say?
I used to be chronically avoidant, and I hate that I took after my dad, because my dad, it's so hard to decipher what's going on through his mind. Like my dad would never address things head on. He would never address issues. And unfortunately, I'm saying this on Wabosha's podcast. He's not going to watch it anyway. My dad is very avoidant. You get it when I say avoidant.
Yes.
Like he just let issues just simmer down, die down, and then he'd address them later or never address them, which was the case mostly. And sometimes I just sit down and realize how much I took after my dad, not only physically because I am a photocopy of my dad, but even emotionally. So when I was a 19-year-old, now I was in uni, transitioning now into uni, interacting now with a different kind and different bunch of people. I realized that I was so out of touch with my emotional side. I was completely out of touch with the emotional side of me. And I grew up in a space where being emotional was a luxury. You had being emotional was a luxury. If it makes sense. I grew up in a very, also coming from a dysfunctional family. My childhood was very interesting. So I realized that I really avoided having feelings. I used to have feelings and I used to be emotional, but I avoided it as much as I could because I had already made peace with the fact that life is unfair. I come from a family that has experienced both extremes. I was born at a time when my family was well managed, and then I was born in Mombasa, actually, fun fact. And then the separation of my mom and my dad, that was so many years ago. And then now the transition from Mombasa to where we moved to, now we began a new life. And now we started surviving on so little when it comes to, I'm talking about lack. So it really, and these are things I never thought affected me. But now that I became an adult and started becoming self-aware, now I realize that they majorly affected me. They majorly affected, as I said before, they majorly affected my perspective towards love, relationships, money, wealth, and all that. Basically, my whole life in its entirety. So I was telling you, when I was a 19-year-old, I realized that I was so out of touch with my emotional side. I was nilikuwa naishi tu, like you just tell me something that I was supposed to react to, and I'll just look at you, probably laugh or just go away. That's how I was so out of touch with my emotional side. But I had done it so intentionally. And it's so funny. It's so funny because I'm a last born. I'm a last born in a family of 4 children. And every single time there was an argument, when I was a kid, there was an argument between either my brothers and my sister, or between my mom and my dad. I used to cry. Oh my God, I used to cry. And my dad would ask me, unalia nini? Unalia nini? Unalia nini? So yeah, that was also partly the reason why, I really shut off.
The emotion.
Yeah, the emotional side of me. And when I look back, I used to be such a bubbly, I told you I used to be alone. It's so crazy because I also don't believe it at times. Because I used to be a bubbly, happy kid. I don't know at which point in my life the light suddenly went out and it suddenly went dark. So, when now I was a 19-year-old, I knew God, but then I was just living. I was just living, and I intentionally decided to reconnect with the emotional side of me. I intentionally decided to bring down that wall. And I did this. Sorry if I'm gonna be religious, but it's
okay.
This is
it's
what
your
worked for me.
episode.
Yeah, it's my episode, and
Yeah.
this is what worked for me. And I started developing emotions from a place of worship. Listening to music, praying. Sometimes I could just let myself really break down, because sometimes I used to hold in feelings. And this has made it become too much a day when I'm walking either to class or when I'm just chilling in my room in the hostel. And I hear too out of nothing, and I just ask myself, "Hey, what's up?" Because I also don't know.
Pent up emotion.
Yeah, because I also don't know, and it was at that point that I really decided to bring down that wall and really reconnect to the emotional side of me. Yeah. And as a man, I used to, in high school now was the peak that I decided I'm not in touch. I will not be in touch with my emotions.
Yeah.
Because high school, let me tell you, a guy's high school, I think, is so different from a girl's high school. Because for guys, I wanna tell you, I'm quite emotional.
Yeah.
I wanna, being a man.
Yeah.
And I can say for sure now, as a 25-year-old, as a man, I am not afraid of being emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For us, I think for me, I'd say it's opposite. And I don't even think it has anything to do with even how we were raised. Because I don't think I ever had my brother being told, "Usilie, men don't cry." If anything, I feel like he used to be the baby cry, and I used to be like, every day you're going to be crying.
Yeah.
I think it's until now when I became friends with Foi. Nasemanga Foi ndo alinishikisha hii bad manners ya kulialia kila saa, every tiny thing. So I think for us, or rather our stories are opposite in a lot of ways.
Yeah, plus also childhood was also a factor, as you said, because also it's so interesting, and how childhood really affects your whole life, affects your whole life, and to unlearn some things is very hard. Because I think I also like shut down. I put my emotional side, my emotions at the back of my brain, because as a child I realized we can't always get the things we want. And it's okay, because umelia, and it will never happen. Yeah, because I don't know if this is TMI, but as you said, it's my episode.
Yeah.
So when I was in primary school, every single time I left, I lived with my mom, as I mentioned. My siblings were in boarding school, and our living situation was chaotic. It was very chaotic, and every single time I used to leave for school when I was in primary school, because I was in a day school, I used to whisper a prayer to God and tell God that, as a kid, I used to tell God, I hope when I'm coming back home, I'm going to find my dad.
Oh.
I'm going to find my dad, and I'm going to find him having mended things with my mom, and he's going to take us out of the place we used to live in and out of that whole situation. And when I was leaving school, walking home, that's the only thing that I could focus on. That's the only thing that was on my mind. So every single time I got to our main gate, you see, when you went through our main gate, you could directly see our house and the door to our house, and you could easily tell whether there was anyone in the house or whether there wasn't anyone in the house. So, oh my God, and I did this for years. Kids are so hopeful, because I used to be one hopeful kid. And every single time I walked home, when I got to the main gate, I used to keep my head down, my eyes down, and then walk up to the door. Ndio nisione that the house has no sign, has no one. I wanted to believe that my mom and my dad are inside. So I used to walk down, my eyes down, and then when I got to the door, and then I'd lift my head, naguza mlango naona padlock, I realized, it's the normal day, and the routine continues. I just open the door, get in the house, survey through the house whether there's something to eat. Mostly there wasn't, so I throw myself on the bed and then just sleep. And one thing I badly craved for as a kid was a 2-parents household. And for the longest time, even as an adult, it was so hard for me to visit my friends whose households had two parents, like a mom and a dad, you know. And at some point I tried therapy, but therapy never works for me because I just couldn't buy the idea of just offloading my emotional baggage onto a stranger. So being a loner and having all that in me, I decided to journal. I used to journal a lot. And even sometimes I still do, but then I still do, but now it's better. So at the back of my journal, I have a list. I've written a list of things, and this is a list of things that I badly wanted to experience as a kid, but I never got to experience them. I look at that list at least a few times a week, because these are experiences that I will make sure my kids will have. Yeah.
I think it's even something that you should do, you know, just like every other day, if it's like still doable stuff. I think you should heal the inner child in you. Now when there is my stuff hata we mwenyewe useme nilifanyanga, even if I did them when I was older, well, the doable ones at least, yeah.
But I think I just made peace with the fact that huyu mtoto alienda.
Yeah.
You know, I buried that kid, and now I began a new life. And now it's up to me to make, it's now up to me to make my life more interesting as an adult, and to actually make sure that my kids will have a functional family. Yeah. And one thing I have vowed to do is give my kids, because I want to have kids. I love kids so much, and I want to have kids. I want to have a family. And coming from a dysfunctional family, it's so funny, surprisingly, it made me. Coming from a dysfunctional family, surprisingly, made me value family, made me value the concept of family, made me value the concept of relationships, made me value the concept of commitment. And I will make sure that my kids will have a two-parents household, the mother and two parents that love each other while at it. Because, I think...
Yeah, you've grown up and seen the importance of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about the labels that you felt people were putting on you and how it led you to having imposter syndrome. What sort of labels were being put on you?
You know, I think this is a bit obvious, but anyway. You know, being a creative, I was one expressive kid, by the way. I was very expressive in terms of how I wanted to dress. In terms of how, I used to talk when I talked, not even as a kid, like even after high school, while in high school, and especially after high school, because my mom was strict, by the way. Oh, very strict.
Yeah.
I can tell you, my sister who is older than me, never wore pants all her life, like pants, trousers. Yeah, she never wore them. So she wore pants after high school. Imagine, after all those years. So even I, living with my mom, there are things I never got to do and I wanted to do. And one of them was, so many, like wear ragged pants, dye my hair, pierce my ears, even jewelry, because my mom was very religious, and she still is. So immediately after high school now, now in uni, you're exposed to this multicultural atmosphere. I don't know if it makes sense. Yeah, multicultural atmosphere. And you want to experience and do everything. So when I got into uni, I did everything. I dyed my hair. I wore ragged jeans. I pierced my ears. In uni, and that's when now you start even becoming you basically start becoming aware of yourself. And being a creative and being myself, I wasn't probably the ideal man of the society. You get, like, I used to be very, very expressive in terms of even of fashion. And I'm like saying at the overboard, at the Adina and an appraise or anything. I basically used to be a bit effeminate, if I may put it so. So that's when the labels begin. And it's not like everyone, the bad thing with negative comments one
That
will
one.
one will
Always
stick
that
forever.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't even have to be told by 100 people or 1,000 people.
Yeah.
One will stick forever. And I think that was the case for me, because I thought about it. I used to think about it a lot. I used to think about it a lot. Yeah, and comments and opinions that used to even make you question your sexuality. Yeah.
Okay. And how would you say that affected you, and how did you get, like, past the imposter syndrome?
Now the imposter syndrome even comes to my music, because music came before content creation.
Really?
Yeah, music came before content creation. I used to sing even as a kid.
Hey,
So
come on, let's have it.
my mom would go with me to places, and she would ask if the person in that service or that fellowship asked, "Nani had to lead na worship," and then she would look at me like, and I had to do it. But I loved how I felt when I was in front of crowds singing. It was a different experience. I felt like that was me.
Yeah.
So, like getting used to mediocre music, because I was in Nyeri. I grew up in Nyeri, and the music in Nyeri is not the same one as the one in Nairobi. And now transitioning from a high school in Nyeri, where you sing anything and everyone says, "Wow."
Yeah.
Wow.
Well done.
Hey, well done. Oh my God, I've never had such a voice. And then you get into uni where mtu anakuangalia hivi anakuambia, "You're not even on key. Your voice is kinda, work on your voice." And you're like, where it comes from?
Yeah.
I'm a superstar. Don't even tell me nothing. I get that's where now the imposter syndrome started to develop. At some point I even thought I wasn't a singer.
Yeah.
Because where I was in Daystar, I found singers. Me, I was just me too nilikuwa naongea. When I think about it. Sorry. And then when now I started doing content creation, I found now bigger guys in the game. Yeah, and like you do it for even sometimes you have to and that's why I wrote in my letter, you have to let yourself grow and learn, because you can't be a sensation overnight immediately. Yeah, you just have to let yourself grow. And actually my content creation journey has been growth. It has been growth. If you scroll down to my Instagram and see the first video I posted, saa zingine nataka kudelete, but then I'm like, let people see my journey. Yeah, let it stay there. If you go there and see the videos that I do now, two different people. So yeah, and also the opinions, someone just telling you, did you have to sing that? Did you have to post that? And now that's when the imposter syndrome starts to... imposter syndrome, it starts within you, yes?
Yeah.
But then when it starts being fueled by the people around you, it now becomes a big thing.
Yeah. And now that you've even mentioned content creation, I think coming from, 15-year-old Mike, who, was really affected by other people and their opinion. Now you're a content creator. You post content for millions of people to see and literally comment on. So how is that like now, where you can't really control, I guess, you've posted, you don't have a lot of control over what other people come and comment.
I actually don't even know. But anyway, I'm gonna digress kidogo, and then I'm gonna come back to your question. If you asked me 4 or 5 years ago whether I'd be doing content creation full time, I'd laugh to your face. I ningecheka vibaya sana, because I would never have imagined that I would be in the place I am today. Because my dream was, do my bachelor's, and then apply for master's, probably a scholarship abroad, and then my goal was mainly academia oriented. That was always on my vision board. So how I transitioned into content creation now full time, it's still a mystery. Because even now I still wrestle the idea of going back to school and doing my master's. Even now I still want to go back to school and do my master's. But then I started content creation. This is something I always say. I started doing content creation out of boredom. at a time when I was in my hostel, there were demonstrations in school. I was the only one in my hostels because I'd rather be in school than be at home. Everyone is at home. I'd rather be in school. So because anyway, what am I gonna get at home? Like life in school is better than life at home.
Yeah.
So I decided to stay in school, and I was the only one in the hostel. So I shot one video, and it went viral. It really went viral. It went viral on Facebook. It got like more than 200k views on Facebook.
That's a video number one.
Yeah, that video number one. Yeah, but I used to be big on Facebook. Oh my god, I used to be big on Facebook. Facebook was actually, you see that period between 2018 and COVID. Facebook was my biggest platform. Facebook, and then Instagram, and then TikTok. And it's so funny how everyone nowadays knows me as the TikTok guy. Yeah. So I did my first video. It went viral, and I was like, hey, sawa, let me continue doing it. I did the second one. I did the third one. I did the fourth one. Money started trickling in. I did the fifth one, and that's how my content creation journey began. I mean, the hesitation was always there.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what are people gonna think? The hesitation was always there, and fun fact, it's still there. Yeah, it's still there. How are people gonna perceive my content? The hesitation, it's always there. Yeah.
How would you say your insecurities have evolved, and how do you deal with them differently now that you're older?
Me, I really don't care. Well, I just accepted.
Yeah,
I just accepted that. I acceptance gave me some kind of peace, serenity, that there's really nothing I can do about it. This is how I am. This is how I was supposed to be, and this is how everyone is supposed to see me. Yeah. I just accepted it, and now I started becoming comfortable, and the more I became comfortable, the more I started looking good, feeling and looking good. Yeah.
And like I said, I love how you ended your letter with, I'm proud of you. What is one thing that you can say you're most proud of?
Being boldly in content creation. Well, being boldly, I can tell you for sure, even a few months ago, probably, I was also contemplating on quitting content creation. Because you're also in the public, you're also, I'd say a public figure. Sometimes it's not easy.
Yeah.
And, like even the attention that comes with it, sometimes it can be very overwhelming. Exactly. Yeah. I'm glad a few months ago during Easter, I went to Mombasa with my friends, and it was so amazing going to public spaces and no one is trying to take a picture. No one is trying to say hi. I'm not saying it's bad, but sometimes you just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to be in a space alone or with your friends, just in the moment, not with any other distractions. And I constantly get that feeling every single time. And I do this thing. I'm not afraid of taking breaks. As a social media content creator and a full-time one, I am not afraid. I used to be so afraid of taking breaks.
Yeah.
In the name of, still becoming relevant. I take consistency, and you see lose engagement, do you see lose followers.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I get crazy burnouts. And I have to soldier through. Create content, but I'm not afraid of taking breaks. And I have become this person who, I think 15-year-old me would be so proud of my 25-year-old self. I am not fully what I would want to be, but emotionally and also physically, career-wise, I am at a good place. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm at a good place, and I'm really proud of myself. Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of you as well.
I'm proud of you.
And over here at A Letter to My Younger Self, we are huge fans. I remember even as we were thinking about guests to invite, this is during the last season, we were actually at Lydia's basement, and we were actually talking about your TikToks, like your videos. We were discussing them, na tulikuwa hapo tunacheka badala ya kwenda home. So yeah, I hope that you really do keep, giving us the content that you do. And also another thing, I think, yes, it is important to take breaks. I personally reached a point where I'm very intentional, each quarter to take some time off, because that content burnout is real.
It's really
yani,
even when you do content, your burnout is it's
visible.
There.
Everyone can see it, so there's no even point. So we've had from your 15-year-old younger self, your 19-year-old younger self, and then there is now Muchiri. So we normally do a sort of time capsule thing, So think about Muchiri 10 years from now, and then we're going to leave him a message. Then hopefully in 10 years, I can come knocking and be like, I have a message from your younger self. So you can take some time, think about what you'd like to say.
To my 10-year-old, to myself 10 years from now.
Yes. And then when you're ready, that's the camera. You can take as much time as you need.
Oh, now this is the last?
Yeah.
Okay. Our episode was short.
Was it really? It was exactly 1 hour.
Oh, for real? Already? Okay. It's so easy to talk to your younger self. But to your future self, But to my future self, I am so positive. I am so positive about my future, especially even my foreseeable future, the next 2 or 3 years. And now talking about 10 years from now, I am now very positive, because when I look at my future self 10 years from now, I can see myself. I can see myself and my wife in a house that we prayed for. I can see my kids playing around. I can see myself driving my dream car. I can see myself interacting with my parents. I can see myself I can see my parents really proud of me. And when I look at myself 10 years from now, I can see myself just seated somewhere and smiling, because my music would have impacted millions and millions of people. And I'm sure my future self 10 years from now will watch this episode and will confirm that this message is true.
Yours, I don't know why, I feel like your message to your younger self sounded more like a manifestation rather than a letter. I don't know why, but it felt so, na believe. Like for real, unaiona inakaa.
Because I have really conditioned my mind to believe that there's nothing I want that I can't get. That's really, really beautiful. And that is the end of the episode. I've really, really enjoyed today's episode. Have you? I have. I have. I feel like I was in therapy.
A lot of people do give that review after writing their letter and after coming to the episode. But thank you so much for coming. Thank you for opening up. I really do appreciate it. And for the guys back at home, be sure to tune in next week for the next episode. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.